Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, as this trial comes to an end, I would like to take a step back and revisit why this case matters. We all know that fire has been around since the beginning of time. It was a gift allowing us to stay warm and survive. But sadly, this gift was wielded as a weapon. Arson is one of the oldest crimes recognized by society and has been punished for thousands of years because of its danger and destruction. In ancient Rome, arson was recognized as a criminal act as early as 81 BC. Under Lex Cornelia de Sicaris, people were punished for intentionally setting fire. The Romans understood that arson wasn't just an act of destroying property, but endangered everyone around it. This understanding didn't end there. In Anglo-Saxon England, burning of people's homes, barns, and crops was a capital offense. This was treated as an attack on public safety, public order, and the survival of entire communities. So, as the law developed into Old English common law, the definition stayed quite narrow, but deeply meaningful. Arson was defined as the malicious and willful burning of the dwelling of another person. Dwelling meaning someone's home. So not because the law cared about walls or roofs, but because a dwelling represents human life, privacy, safety, a place where someone sleeps, where families gather, and children grow. So as society changed, the law had no choice but to change with it. By the 18th and 19th centuries, arson statutes expanded to recognize the growing complexity of crime. As insurance grew, it became a motive. People used fire to commit fraud. Legislature included unoccupied buildings and properties. The law also recognized that not every fire is meant to kill, so they created lesser offenses and definitions of arson. Modern arson laws are partially shaped by the Model Penal Code. The Model Penal Code takes a broader, more standardized approach to arson. It defines arson as starting a fire or causing an explosion with the purpose of destroying a building or occupied structure, or doing so recklessly while placing another person in danger. What is significant about the Penal Code is that it recognizes multiple mental states: purposeful, knowing, and reckless behavior, all of which are criminally liable. It also separates arson from lesser forms of burning, such as criminal mischief or negligent burning, and creates categories so that the punishment is proportional to the crime. Arson and its punishments are clearly defined in the law. Ranging from Class 1 misdemeanor to Class 2 felony, these punishments can include fines, probation, and years, sometimes decades of imprisonment. And the reason the law draws these distinctions is simple. Fire does not care about our intentions. Once flames begin, they can spread beyond control, threatening homes, businesses, families, and entire neighborhoods. This is why arson is punished based on what was burned and the state of the mind of the person responsible. A person who intentionally ignites an occupied structure is faced with the most severe punishment, a Class 2 felony, carrying presumptive sentence of 5 years, a minimum of 4, and up to 21 years if aggravating circumstances are present. But even someone who acts recklessly and didn't mean for the fire to get out of hand is still criminally liable, because recklessness with fire is never harmless. A reckless burning offense, a Class 1 misdemeanor, can still lead to months in jail, probation, and significant fines, because the moment flames escape control, they threaten not only the property, but entire neighborhoods, first responders, and innocent bystanders. So why is arson a crime? At its core, arson threatens the 3 things society holds most valuable: life, security, and order. Arson is criminalized to protect human life. Fire is unpredictable, fast, and violent. Once it starts, even the person who created it cannot control where it moves or who it harms. Second, arson laws exist to protect property and the stability of a community. A burned home, business, or building is more than just a structure. It represents years of work, financial investment, and the sense of stability people rely on. Fire destroys that instantly. And finally, arson threatens the moral and social order. Setting a fire is not a quiet or hidden act. It is destructive, deliberate, and symbolic. It communicates disregard for others and for the rules that holds communities together. Society has always viewed fire setting as an act of malice, one that spreads fear, chaos, and destruction far beyond the flames themselves. So no matter the state of the person at the time, they still put innocent lives in danger and have to claim responsibility for their actions. This case matters because fire is unforgiving. It consumes everything in its path. When someone is responsible for this path of destruction, they need to be held accountable. So I urge you to consider the evidence in this case and to keep in mind the long history, the legal principles, and the seriousness of which society has always treated the crime of arson. This individual deserves to be held responsible to the fullest extent of the law, and all I ask is that you return a verdict that reflects the facts as well as those responsibilities the defendant bears. A verdict of guilty. Thank you.